p.m. in Vienna here. Welcome to today's live stream. I hope you can see and hear me, right? Also, let me know that. Drop a quick like or quick comment. As you know, you already know, right? There has been trouble with the streaming setup, and of course, it doesn't make much sense if I talk to nobody. So if you can hear me, if you can see me, leave a quick comment. Also to show me that you're ready to dive into the topic of today, which is of course about time, right? It's just about time. It is about time. It's time we talk about time, right? And just a second here, I'll also tag everyone here in our private Facebook group so everybody knows that we're live and the stream has started. But then we'll dive right into it. It's been a long day, ladies and gentlemen. It's been a long day today. So if I'm a little off topic, just let me know. I'll get back to topic, right? But today, right, is about how to structure your learning hours to make the most efficient, right? And yeah, somebody here on LinkedIn can hear and see me. So cool beans, we made it work. That's great. Okay, right. So it is especially important. People from LinkedIn know the deal. You all have jobs. You all have things going on. And if you have a full-time job at the same time and you're trying to learn programming, then this is really the key ingredient that you use that little time that you have wisely. But as always, this is an interactive kind of thing. Let me know what your current situation is, right? Do you already spend some time learning? If you do, how many hours a day? How many hours in a week, roughly? And also, what's very important, how many hours in one sitting? Leave me a quick comment here in the chat, and then we'll dive right into this. We'll talk a lot about like finding the optimal time management, right? Today I'll show you how you can find a working strategy that will make sense for you specifically, if you don't have an infinite amount of time, which we all don't, right? So the idea is that after this class, you will know exactly what kind of things you should put your focus on, right? And what things you definitely 100% shouldn't do because you'll spend time, all right, but it doesn't progress you forward. And the idea is that you have an idea of what to do and that you can basically implement a new strategy right after this live class. So this is for you if you're an absolute beginner, and you just want to do it properly from the beginning. This is also interesting for you if you have been at it by yourself for some time, but you feel you don't progress fast enough, or maybe you even feel that you're wasting time in some way or form. And a very important note here, you need to be somebody that actually takes action. You need to be somebody that takes action and starts doing. Because if you just watch me every week here yelling at you and you enjoy it, that's fine, that's okay. But sadly, you will not get results. Right? And if you do the things I tell you, then things will be better. Right? Maybe in the end, you make a well-educated decision and have me help you with that, so you don't waste any more time and energy on the wrong implementation. And everybody's heard this, right? You just have to put in the hours. It takes a lot of time. Just stick with it. Don't give up. Blah di da, right? But come on, what does this actually mean? It doesn't help you in any way or form. Nobody tells you where you should actually focus your time on. And if you do this, in the end, you'll be a sad man or woman, right? Because that's very unsatisfying, right? You just go on and on with this idea of, oh, sometime in the future is gonna be better. You don't even know when. You don't even know if you're doing the right thing, right? So I want you to show today what you should be focusing your time and energy on and what to not do. And this is in essence, right? Very short form, the same strategy we use with our clients to get them results, even on a very tight time budget. Okay, this is important. Our clients all have full-time jobs. Some have kids, right? We have one client, Peter, for example. He has like 4 kids, right? Has 4 kids, a full-time job. So he's pretty busy, but he could still transition to be a software engineer in the end, right? And he learned all of this at the same time. Didn't have any prior experience. So if you want to be ahead of the curve, then get ready to take some notes. And we'll do that. If that sounds good to you, also leave a quick comment here. Right, let's go push the algorithm up a little bit that more people can see that we're live, and then we'll be a happy group of people. The more the merrier, right? So if you're joining for the first time, that's also cool. Yeah, if you don't know me, I'm like, you might not think that because I also have a lot of things going on, but the reality of things is I'm a pretty lazy person and I'm pretty chaotic, right? And also, I don't want to use my time on useless things. What I really hate is busy work. The thing where back in school, maybe you remember, when the teacher just give the class any stupid task, right? Just to keep the class quiet. So they're busy, but it's not really productive, right? I hate that. You probably hate that because that time could have been spent more efficiently. That you could be productive, but even if you're not productive, it could be more enjoyable, right? So doing something just for the sake of doing it is really your worst enemy. And if you are a lazy person, right, like me, then you of course try to work as little as possible for the maximum result, right? And you'll find many people like this in the software engineering sphere. Uh, Many great programmers are by default pretty lazy because they will always find some way to automate some work, right? So they don't have to do it themselves, right? So they innovate, right? Lazy people innovate very well when they become programmers. So all in all, the goal I think is clear. You want to be effective, you want to be efficient, and a big part of being efficient is exactly knowing your inefficiencies, the things that are less useful. So all the stuff that doesn't move you forward. And the relative thing is, it's not about having a lesson plan, right? Or a fixed schedule. I mean, it helps to a degree, right? But that's not the essence of it. It's about reflecting and adapting on what actually works for you. And when I say for you, for your situation, right? Not everybody has 4 kids. I get it. Some of you have none. Some of you do shift work, right? It's all different. So you always need to figure this out yourself or with some help, with our help, to get the essence out that works for you. And that's something that many people don't think about, right? People start to learn programming and they focus 100% on the technical parts and never think about the big picture. And realistically, being a programmer is not just knowing syntax and all the technicalities of implementation. It is a part of it, but that's not the biggest part of it, right? And I didn't know that. I had to figure this out in my 20, I don't know, 25 years that I've been programming myself. Okay. And maybe you already started. You put X amount of hours in, right? So you say, oh, I'm doing 10 hours, right? I'm very confident I can do this. You sit down for 10 hours, you actually put an amount of hours in, but you look at your progress, right? And say, that's not so great. That's not so great. And then your brain goes, oh shit. If I want to move along faster, I need to double my hours. And then you look at your schedule and say, but I don't have double the hours, right? And that is absolutely the wrong way to go about it because you, trust me on this, you can double your efficiency and reduce hours at the same time. This is not some magic trick. It's all very logical, but do yourself a favor. If you feel like, okay, those things make sense, actually do them. Stay to the end of this live class because they all tie together, right? And that brings me to you. You're not here to just here to hear me ramble about efficiency, but it's an interactive kind of thing, right? It is always. Tell me what you think is your biggest time waster, right? Where do you spend most of your time when it comes to getting better at programming? Write it in the chat. We can have a little conversation here, and then we can see what you're currently spending your time on, and I'll tell you if it's maybe a problem. Right? Could be that a problem exists that you don't that you're not aware. So while the chats are coming in, I'll start with the key ingredient. This is really number one, super important thing. You need to track your time. Okay. I don't know. Maybe you've been waiting for a big surprise, but you just need to track your time. Okay. It might sound boring. I get it. But it is simple, right? And simple things, you can do simple things. The first step is that you keep an accurate diary of how much time you spend on what, right? Because there is no benefit in vaguely remembering, thinking, oh, I spend a lot of time on this, but the other thing kind of feels like I didn't spend a lot of time, right? That's not valid. For you to actually analyze your time, you need hard facts, you need numbers, right? And you can do that. You just log it in an Excel sheet, right? That's cool, right? Put it in an Excel sheet, put it in Notepad, write it on a piece of paper. It doesn't matter. And you can use some time tracking software if you want that. If you feel like, oh, cool, I want time tracking software. But realistically, it's overkill, right? Simple log, simple Excel sheet, you go, right? And also, you say, oh shit, that's super annoying and that's all involved and all that. You don't have to track it by the minute, right? You don't. And you don't need a stopwatch next to your desk. But for every day where you sit down, you should know what happened in like 30-minute increments. Okay, it's good enough. And you categorize your tasks into things that you do, like you're reading documentation, being stuck, right? You can be stuck for an hour or two, actually coding, debugging, la di da di da. You just write it down. When you start with this, right? There are no specific categories. You just need to look what you've been doing for a week, right? And then find your own categories. Because only then you can take an educated look at the time you spend on things. So then in the next step, you can optimize, right? And actually see where your bottleneck is and where you actually spend most of your time, right? So I didn't see fireworks in the chat, but I see Kubert here, so I just wanted to say quick hello. Cool to see you here on YouTube. I get it, right? The logging is not exciting. The logging itself takes time. Yeah, but it allows you to actually see what's going on. So you don't have to rely on some feeling because that's imprecise, right? We're all humans with squishy brains and we're very, 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 very bad at judging the passing of time, right? So you need to write it down, okay? Boring, but effective and simple. Again, very simple step. And if you don't do that, my friend, yeah, you might feel like, oh, I know, I can remember pretty well, my brain works all right. You have no clue. If you don't write that down, you don't know what you're spending your time on. Maybe you just watch weird streams on YouTube, okay? You need to write that down, okay? So we got this. Yeah, you got this. It's easy. Okay, what's the second step? The second step is analyze. I can't even do the stupid word, right? Analysis. Yeah. Because I mean, we have all the data collected. What's it good for? If nobody looks at it, this is good for nothing, right? So let's say, what do you now do with this, right? It's pretty simple. You just look at the categories that you made over the last time span. You sum up all the hours for a week, or maybe do it for 2 weeks, right? So the more data you have, the better it is. And then you take the top 4 or 3 categories and carefully look at what they are, right? So what is your number one time waster? And you need to be honest with yourself, right? If your number one time waster is procrastination, my friend, it's a problem, yes, okay. You might be on the spectrum, who knows, right? But that's not really the case usually, right? It is simply, it means that you work on something that's not interesting to you, right? So you work on something, you kind of don't like it, you tend to do something else. And up goes doom scrolling, right? If you're doom scrolling, instead of working on your project, then your project is not interesting to you and you need to find a new one, right? So you always need to work on things that engage you in some way. We have another live stream about which kind of projects make sense. But if you work on something that you actually like and want to work at, then you're not going to procrastinate, right? When's the last time you procrastinated go to get some good food? That just doesn't happen. If something interesting to you, people don't procrastinate. Maybe your number one thing that you found out is you're watching tutorials. There's an easy fix. You stop doing that. No, 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 no. Because it doesn't help you the way that you think it does. Watching somebody do something does not transfer knowledge. Okay? You watch me, you listen to me, but it doesn't transfer knowledge. And if you find out that you spend a lot of time watching tutorials, okay, then you need to make a conscious decision to put an end to that. In this case, I would recommend a stopwatch next to your monitor. You start the thing, you watch tutorials, whatever it is, and when 50 minutes have passed, you close it, right? Close all the tabs, and now sit down back to your code and try to implement. The important part to understand when I talk about tutorials, if you follow along something that is, the guy doing the tutorial has thought about it and is presenting it to you, right? Following along somebody feels like you understand what you're doing. It feels like you're following along. Oh, all the things make sense, right? Oh, I know. Tricky part is when you try it by yourself, suddenly you're stuck. Because when you watch a tutorial, the thinking part that you should be training has been done by the dude doing the tutorial 2 years ago, right? He sat down, thought about the problem, thought about the video, probably wrote the script, right? And then presented the thing in 20 minutes, right? So the actual process of thinking, that thing that you should be training, has been outsourced, and you don't do it, so you don't learn. Okay, all right. What else? Is most of your time just spent being confused, ripping it out, right? Because stupid thing doesn't do the thing. Well, it's okay. It's part of the game. Don't spend more time aimlessly moving code around, just in the hopes that it somehow magically works. Stop mindlessly copying code from Stack Overflow, hoping that it works. Stop mindlessly copying code from ChatGPT in the hopes that it works, right? Because usually, you only have a few lines of code that give you trouble, right? That's the thing. So what you should do, you should spend that time, instead of gobbling it together, try to understand basically every line of code that you have. And there will be one line where you don't understand. Okay, you just don't know. So now you know what you don't know, and now you need to specifically figure out what it's supposed to do, right? Whatever it is, and then try to come up with another simpler solution. Okay, you scan your code, you have a line of code or two, you say, what the fuck's going on? I don't understand this. Okay, trash it, try to make it simpler, right? With this approach, you will move much faster, right? If you can, of course, like our clients can do that, right? You ask somebody that knows about this stuff, right? But just about this one line of code, just this one thing you don't understand. Because when you're actually looking to understand a tiny little thing, you suddenly have a much more focused task at hand. Okay. So the essence is just, don't do a shotgun approach, right? Don't get all riled up and move this, try this, delete this, okay, this, blah 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 blah. Just take a step back, right? Relax, take a deep breath, take a walk, maybe, right? Whatever. Get your mind off it and try to solve that one problem with the syntax, with the tools that you already know, right? And again, the code will not look spectacular, whatever, right? But it will work, right? So you can go on to the next challenge. On the other hand, you have 5 fingers. On the other hand, you will spend enormous if you don't do that, right? You will spend enormous amounts of searching, trying, failing all over the place, right? And that doesn't only cost you time, but it costs you your mental health, right? Because at that point, you're just rolling the dice, hoping that it works. And even if it works in the end, you haven't learned nothing, right? So, in essence, dear friend, you need to step back in complexity and do the things you already know. Okay? Very simple. It's not about learning new stuff. It's about applying things you know. That's the important thing when learning programming. And the last thing here, right? Last but not least, but really the key to stop spending time on useless busywork is the 80-20 rule, right? So that's really the step number 3 here. And that's the most important thing, guideline that you'll ever get when it comes to learning basically any skill, right? It doesn't really matter if you're trying to learn how to rock climb or to program. Only 20% of your invested time, of your invested energy, should be spent to learn, right? Only 20% should be occupied with research, with ingesting information, right? 80% of your time and energy should be spent coding, right? 80% should be you solving problems with the coding knowledge that you already have, not with learning new stuff, but with applying the things that you already know. Okay, get it into your head. It is about practicing the thing, not about learning new stuff. Because in all honesty, let's be realistic here. You still have a lot to learn potentially with all the simple things, right? And you can always imagine that the processor in your computer can basically only do 5 things, right? It can read data, it can store data, can add, subtract numbers, and it can do if else's, right? In general. That's all computers do all day, right? To make this live stream possible. So you also need to understand it's a mindset thing. Of course, you need to learn a little more, but just to approach it the right way. That with a very basic set of instructions, and you know what they do and how to put them in the right order, you can already program everything. Okay, there's no magic involved. You don't need a framework for everything. You don't need a bloody-da-di-da. You don't need a virtual Python environment. Right? Just a few sets of instructions make up every program. Right? For you, this means you don't need to learn 5 million instructions. You don't need to learn 5 million frameworks and do that. You need the basics, and you need to learn them so well that with that, you can solve any problem. Right? So, key point here. Coming back to the key point here. If you spend your time on complex code that you don't understand, right? Which happens. Take a step back. Go back to the basics and try to find a solution with that only. Right? Most things can be solved with a few if-else's and a few for loops, and that's all the magic you need. Okay? Realistically. And if you do that, if you take this seriously, this will instantly cut back your research hours, your learning time, right, to a minimum, because you'll only ingest 20% of the time and then you practice 80% of the time. And that will allow you to focus on really the most important skill, which is problem solving. Right? You don't get hired because you know all the things. You get hired because you can solve, you come up with solutions with the knowledge you have. And if you don't take that advice seriously, then you'll always have trouble remembering things. Right? You will always be busy and frustrated looking for those answers. Okay? You need to learn the simple things, and you need to learn them really well. Right? That's all you need for a long time. Okay? Really, really key. So those 3 things that I just presented to you. Maybe if you have questions, drop it in the chat, but I'll summarize it for you because maybe you forgot. It's been 20 minutes now, right? Number 1, you need to track your time. Because you can't, nobody can, not only you, but nobody can make an educated decision without having hard data, right? If you have the hard data, you need to analyze it and you need to be honest with yourself, right? Because only then you can improve. There is no way around it. And number 3, you need to spend way more time, and that's the 80-20 thing. You need to spend way more time solving problems than trying to learn new stuff, right? You need to spend way more time doing that with the things you already know. Do you understand? Pretty please. It will make your life easier. You're here, you're doing all of this to become good at programming, okay? For your career, for your personal development, for a career change, right? But if you take those 3 things, simple things, right? Seriously, it will set you up to actually learn things without being all over the place and frustrated all the time. Yeah? And if you do this, you'll be more efficient, you'll be more effective, and you'll be much, much quicker in learning new stuff. Right? It's cliche. Cliche. Oh, less is more. Okay, cool. But in this case, it's really true. You need to focus on those 3 things. See where your time goes, optimize, and then definitely optimize input versus output, right? You input 20% input information, 80% you practicing. Okay. If those things that we just talked about make sense to you, and you feel like that approach can also work for you, right? And you want to have an actual deep dive on that, so you 100% know that you're on the right track, right? You want some senior developers to talk with you about that. Yeah, all you need to do, right? Depending on what platform. If you are on YouTube, down in the description there is a link, right? Book a free consultation session with me, right? It's totally free. We just have a quick conversation if we can help you, and if we can help you, how we can potentially help you, right? So all you have to do is click the link down below, fill in your details. We'll have a quick phone call, right, and figure this out. If you are on Facebook, or you can also leave a comment here in the chat. Also, if you watch the replay, you can have a comment. I'll send you a DM, and we'll look at your current situation. Look at your current situation and see what you specifically should be focusing your time on, so you don't waste any of that, right? So you know what to do. You either send me a comment, send me a DM, click the link in the YouTube description, and we'll make it happen, right? I'm doing this now. I've been doing this now for 5 years, okay? And the reason is not because I like to hear myself talk, but because I've seen and I've talked and I've met so many people that want to learn programming. They're on the right track. They have the right mindset. They want to go. They're goal getters. Everything is good. But after 6 months, after a year, after 2 years, they give up. Right? They're being discouraged. They say, "Oh, Jesus fucking Christ! I've been at this for I've been motivated for 1 year now, but now the time has come where I just can't anymore." Right? And they give up. And not because programming is hard, but usually because those people didn't have clear guidance on what to do, on when to do it, and in which order to do it, right? Because those things are sometimes very counterintuitive, right? Sometimes you need to do things that feel wrong to get results, okay? Yeah? And so many people have quit for just the wrong reasons. So if you want some help, you can reach out to me. I'm here to help, right? I mean, we can talk, we can have a chat, and that's what we do. So take this advice seriously. Do yourself a favor, right? I see the stream count. There are lots of people here. If just one of you takes this seriously, comes back in 2 months, come back and tell me how it actually changed your approach, how far you have gotten suddenly, how little time you actually needed to do it. I'm curious to hear stories. So thank all of you for being here today. It was a nice stream. Again, if any questions come up afterwards, you can always send me a message on various platforms. You know how to find me. That's the name, right? Right on the banner behind me. Looking forward to next live stream next week. Until then, have a good